Welcome to Almost Pro Bites, where we take a quick bite at the biggest conversations in sport right now. One conversation that keeps coming up across every code is this idea of load management. Players being rested, minutes being managed, games being missed, sometimes when a player's not even injured. Today, we're discussing what is load management and why is everyone talking about load management in sport right now. If you follow pretty much any professional league, especially the NBA, you'll see it everywhere. You'll see the star players sitting out games or back-to-backs being skipped. You'll see athletes being managed throughout the season. And this has become a real talking point, and so it should.
Absolutely. One of the most famous examples of this, of load management really coming into the public eye, was I think 2010 with the Antonio Spurs in the NBA resting like 5 of their players so that they were in their peak prime condition for the playoffs. And since then, we've seen this spread across multiple sports and multiple codes within the sports. And I feel like it's one of those things where people kind of get it, but also get really frustrated by it. Like, you understand why. Okay, we want to rest some players. We want to have them at their peak performance for, say, the playoffs.
Mm.
But it still doesn't sit all that well with everybody.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't sit all that well because you and I can make academic sense of it, right? Because the athletes are the most under pressure we've ever seen, but also they're so measured now. Athletes are so measured now. So every team is so measured. So we saw when the Matildas were in Australia for the AFC, the Asian Cup, players were expected to come out onto the pitch, but they were being rested because the data team knows that they didn't need that level of grunt for the opposition they were playing against. So we know athletes are under more load than ever, and those players were coming in from different contracts overseas and playing for their nation, being at the Asian Cup. We know that they're under physical loads. We know they're under mental loads. We know they're under international travel loads and schedules galore. And we know that managing the load helps keep them healthy mentally and physically, helps to keep them performing, helps to extend their careers. But there's more to it than that, right?
Absolutely. I mean, that's not taken into consideration at all from the fans' perspective,
Right.
right? Like, the thing that gets me is the flip side of all of this. Like, yes, those points are valid, and if, increasing the longevity of an athlete within their sport is fantastic. But then you think of the flip side. If you're a fan, you've paid to go and see your favorite players play. And you might have driven all the way out there only to see less than 5 minutes of your favorite player take the
Yep.
court.
Yep.
Definitely speaking from personal experience as well. I'm a big fan of the WNBA and Caitlin Clark, and I remember driving across multiple states in the US to see her play, and I think she took the court for less than 3 minutes. And it was exciting to be there and in that atmosphere, and you want the team to win, but you also want to see your favorite players play. I keep thinking, how much does the fan really care about this load management when they're paying to see their favorite players be there? They're going to watch the game,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden they're out sitting on the bench.
I think it's about a reckless fan. I don't think it's people sort of going, who cares about your health and who cares about the
Right.
longevity.
No, definitely not.
I think it's what you just linked, right, with Caitlin Clark. It's that brand of that athlete has been attached to their team and their team brand, and that's what you've bought into. so we've bought into the individual's performance and the team's performance, but we've bought into the entertainment of the individual athlete, right? And so when an athlete's being managed for the season to get the most out of their season, or they're playing multiple tournaments at the same time, or they've got these championships over the top of their regular season, or we're nursing them through playoffs, or we want to take our strongest side into the finals, that means nothing to the fan who's only showing up for tonight, who's driven across multiple states, who's waited for the Matildas to show up in Australia again to bring out their kids and the signs and get behind a specific player that they've fallen in love with. The fan is there for that moment.
Absolutely. And the risk then being that when you do have this load management happening through these games and that fan has gone for the experience of watching the player, it can often create this feeling of disconnect, from from, is this real? You know, is this game real? Is this team giving it their all for this game here that I'm at witnessing right now? So does this create this disconnect to the sport then as a whole? You know, we'll start with, okay, this game that I'm watching, but then you start to question the league or the competition as a whole.
The careful control.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah. And it gets probably more interesting for you and me, right? Because we want to distill that then to the localized level. What happens when it filters down to our almost pro athletes, to the ones that are watching this, wondering how does load management affect me? The answer you and I both know is, well, yeah, load management is happening at the ranks lower than elite. Um, because we're now seeing even younger athletes being monitored, are we not? And we're seeing training loads being tracked to the wazoo. Like we're, the level of data, as I mentioned before, is just off the charts in sport. We're also seeing recovery protocols being introduced earlier. So the way that youth and different leagues are managing recovery in their athletes, and I reckon it does point back to the examples we're seeing in the elite squads of load management.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It definitely filters down to these junior leagues.
Mm,
Even my experience within tennis
mm,
is you see this evident in the team settings and the team competitions, whether it's the internal state leagues. There is an element of load management that's starting to pop up there. You'll see maybe you got four people in a competing team for a season. The bottom two players tend to play the majority of the season until those crucial games where
right.
all of a sudden, you know, the number one and the number two player, you see it even down to the school teams
Yeah.
with their regular seasons. And you do wonder, you know, are we getting the most out of our players by taking them off court for a period of or off field for a period of the season? Would they be better staying on court, staying on field and building their skills because this is what they train to do? We're now taking some of that competition experience away from them, and then we're also taking it away from the fans when we talk about these professional levels as well. So it's a very tricky spot to be in here.
There's gotta be a mental layer to it as well, I reckon, where that person knows they're being rested for their skill. So the rest of the team who's being flogged to play game after game,
Yeah.
you've gotta be the person sitting there going, "Well, hang on a minute, where does that rank me?"
Yeah, definitely.
And while I think our professional or elite level athletes are playing in this space of having their loads managed, I reckon if you're in the almost pro space, you're still in that delicate balance of, you're working somewhere to bring an income, you're probably studying or doing something like that, which means you're probably having to manage your training time and game exposure. So perhaps at the almost pro level, it's actually quite the opposite. It's not about over application or overtraining or overplaying. Sometimes it might actually be at that level. No, you don't want to be load managed because you want to be out there.
That's it. Yeah, I mean, you need the reps in to have the outcome that you're after, right? So if you
Right.
start taking that away, then that increases the risk of what the outcome could be.
Yeah, yeah. So I would say at the top level, it probably is about protecting performance, but I wonder whether at the levels below that, there still needs to be an answer to the question, what will help you improve? And I don't know that playing less, competing less, and having less rep time or game time is what will develop you.
So true. It's not that load management is wrong. It's just that one size doesn't necessarily fit all.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe the real question then is, who is load management actually for, and when does it make sense? Because what works at the very top doesn't always translate to everybody else.
Yeah, so true. Hey, that's it for this episode of Almost Pro Bites. If you've seen this in your sport or you've experienced it, we'd so love to hear your take on this. See you next time.